Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. If you're watching this, you are interested in learning how to listen better because you want to care and love for others. My name is Josh Hogenkamp. I work with Elam Fellowship. We put on this webinar, myself and Joe Jansen. And in a second, you'll jump into video of our Zoom call that we had in February with a small group. And so either you missed it or somebody, I heard their power went out, and so they couldn't get on. So whatever the case, we're glad that you're here. Obviously, this is a different venue. We upload this to YouTube, and so we'd love for you to give us some feedback. Either you can email me personally at josh.hogenkamp@gmail.com, or you can actually leave comments down in this video, and we can have a conversation. Obviously, we love to hear your feedback on this video. We love to hear some action steps that you're taking after hearing this webinar. And also, we just want to hear how we can help you and help you grow. We really want to see you succeed in ministry, succeed in your relationships that you have, and just succeed in life. And so let us know. We'd love to be part of your journey. And like I said, we're going to jump in the middle. We already did some introductions in the Zoom call, and so we're kind of just jumping into the beginning of the teaching. But you'll see we had a great conversation, and I think great content that is really applicable to our lives. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
We really want to just lay some specific leadership principles that we think are building blocks of good relationship with the people that we lead, good building blocks for the relationships around in our life. And I think really when we begin to value people for what they can give us and not, we begin to value people for who they are and not what they can give us when we focus on them. I said before, I feel like listening takes it from me-centered to other-centered. And actually, if you guys have your sheets, your note sheets, that's the first thing. Listening helps us go from me-centered to other-centered. I don't know about you guys, especially the first couple of years of me leading, it was all about what I wanted to do and my vision and the things I needed to accomplish. And it's so easy to forget people. And it's like, wait a second, if I'm not taking care of the people on my team, if I'm not loving and caring and valuing the people around me directly, how am I going to love the people that are coming through my doors or we're going to reach out for? So it's like, I feel like at that point, listening helped me understand that I needed to value the people around me and what they were saying rather than the things I was wanting to accomplish. Also I'll be asking some questions throughout for us to talk. Obviously, there's just a couple of us on the call, so it's going to be really easy for us to converse. But also, if you guys have questions, feel free to write them in the chat. We're going to have as long a question time as we need at the end. And like I said, there's going to be some questions throughout, but just write them down so we can make sure we get to them. We're going to try and just teach for another 20 minutes or so, and then we're going to just go into question time for however long we need and talk about this. Because it's not just teaching, it's how can we apply it to our life and apply it to the relationships in our life. So I guess I wanted to start out with the why. Why do we listen? I think there's three main points, if I'm thinking just the base level of why we listen. One is listening imitates God. I mean, there's verses in here that I can pull out. Psalm 66, 1 Peter 3, 1 Peter 5 says this, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Well, he needs to listen to you to know your anxieties, right? Proverbs 15:29. The Lord is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayer of the righteous. Psalm 34:17. When the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and delivers them out of their troubles. I think I'm just reminded so much of David's Psalms, where David is talking and talking, my enemies are against me, and this is happening, and this is happening, all these negative things. But then there's a turn phrase, and he said, something like, but the Lord heard my cry, or the Lord delivered me, or basically the Lord came through in a situation because David had been crying out to the Lord, and God came through in a powerful way and heard David. And obviously, I think we connect hearing or heard or God did something because we're praying and we're asking for help. I think that's a pretty narrow way to think about how God hears us. Because I go back to one of the first chapters of the Bible where, Adam and Eve would just walk in the garden with God. Like they didn't need any help because they didn't need any, they were good, but there was a relationship there and there was connection there, and God was listening. And I'm sure God was talking about, it was a conversation, but I guarantee you that God wasn't just talking the whole time. I mean, he was sitting there saying, "Oh, Adam, what did you name this animal?" Or, let's talk about this. And so I think just throughout the whole Bible, we see God as someone that's not just talking. I mean, he talks a lot, but he also listens to us. He listens to our prayers. He listens to who we are, our anxieties, the things we're going through, and who we are. He's not just a to-do list God. He's a relationship God. The next big one is listening values the other person. Listening values the other person. Listening communicates value and acceptance. People are most open to being influenced by those who accept and value them. Therefore, learning to listen deeply, intently, and intuitively is absolutely vital to influencing others. Here's the next one. Authentic listening means that you are listening because you are curious and because you care.
Could you repeat that one?
Yeah. Authentic listening means that you are listening because you are curious and because you care. I think I wanted to put them in those orders because sometimes we can even use listening as a tool to get people to do what we want them to do, right? Hey, let's talk. If you're really good at it, you could do it. Oh yeah, let's hear your life story. I'll ask you some good questions. And then 15 minutes in the conversation, okay, now it's my turn, and here's what I want to communicate to you because I have the most important things to say in this conversation. That's just not true. I mean, oftentimes you do, but people can see through the bullcrap right away. It's like, I think we can all remember people who are like, oh, that's nice. Oh, look at your nice active listening skills. You're nodding your head and repeating back, oh, that's so cute. Oh, did you just do a thing where you said a nice thing, a bad thing, and a nice thing? Oh, what good communication skills you learn. People can see through our bullcrap communication skills all the day. But you know what they can see clear as day? They can see love and care and authenticity. And so even as we're jumping into the skill of listening, I think the first thing that we need to point out is that it's a heart attitude, not just a communication skill. Which I think is really hard. Danny, I see you shaking your head. I mean, maybe Danny, I'll ask you guys, you and Millie, what are some, do you have people in your life that you feel are good listeners or people that listen to you guys?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a mentor who's pretty good at letting me talk and not responding. Sometimes I just need to talk, especially because people drive you nuts.
Yeah, my older sister, she was very influential in me coming to Christ, and her and her husband actually come to our church now.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, she's a great listener.
That's so cool. Now, Millie, what stands out beyond, what stands out in your sister listening about other people that maybe aren't such good listeners that you've encountered?
She's not quick to respond when she's listening to me. The eye contact. She has great eye contact, especially with me. And she's not afraid to, after she listens and after, even sometimes after she seeks God on what she should tell me, she's not afraid to go ahead and correct me on attitudes or correct me on behavior, which is very encouraging because I know then that she's listening and not just giving me the automatic Christian response to the situation I'm in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I feel like that goes back to the one of the first things I said in this listening values people. Listening communicates value and acceptance. Because she listens to you, you're not worried about what she's saying because you know she accepts you already, right? She's already taken that on. She's like, there's no miscommunication about that. She wants the best for you. And I think that's so key. Chauncey, what about you? When have you felt listened to?
I shared it with you a couple weeks ago, but I was working at my last job and was getting super, super depressed about it. My wife loves what she does for work, and we were having one of those knockdown, drag-out arguments, and my wife had said something, and I said, okay, that's nice of you to say. You've actually found what you love to do. Mind you, this entire time, I like to say the words argument, but to me, the arguments in our marriage tend to be me just rambling on, and rambling on. My wife saying absolutely nothing, just waiting for me to get done. And she took in everything I said. And even after I said what I said, she brought value back to me. So I don't know, because she's not just because she's in the room, but as she listens, she brings value to the people that she's listening to. So yeah, I think that answers your question, if I understood it correctly.
I think it connects what your wife, some of the attributes your wife has to Millie's sister, right? They're not quick to respond. They're not quick to fix.
It's almost like they've listened to scripture.
Yeah, right? I don't know about you guys. Do we have any quick fixers?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah, let's get it done now. Let's fix it now.
Let me just put some duct tape across the splitting wall.
Yeah.
I do. I still do that sometimes. I need to check. It's like, whoa. This person just needs an ear. They don't need a fix right now. We can get to that later if they need it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, the last one, the last kind of main why is it brings connection.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about this already. Communicates value, communicates acceptance. Like, do you want to know what's going on in people's lives? Just ask them and they'll listen. Like, I'm sure you've had situations where, it's a Sunday morning or you go to, a friend's house. Hey, how you doing? Oh, good. And we can leave it there. But the next question is, what's going on in your life? And then their answer might be a little longer, right? And then we ask again, how's your family? And the answer gets a little longer, right? And so if we just ask people questions and listen, they're going to start to talk more and share more. And I think also as that continues, you'll be someone that's known to them as a listener, and that's going to come even faster and quicker. Like when Joe asks me a question, I know Joe's listening. So I can talk for a couple minutes, and sometimes he cuts me off because I ramble sometimes too. Me and Chauncey are in the same boat. But he just listens, but I know that he wants to hear what I'm thinking. So I feel free to talk. Another ways, it brings connection. Do you want to know who they are? Listen to them. They'll tell you stories about where they've been. A good example would be this is a sad example. My grandfather just passed away last week. He was 91, and it was expected. He had a pretty big stroke a couple weeks ago. But anybody that asked me, tell me a little bit about your grandfather, I immediately started telling stories about a trip he took me on when I was 11 out to Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons and Mount Rushmore. And I'll tell them the story of us losing our brakes as we were going up to Mount Rushmore on the top of a mountain, almost dying in a car. It's just like, so I'll tell you those things because those are the things I remember about my grandfather. The same thing with people. You want to know what people care about? Danny likes bacon. We didn't have to dig very deep to figure out Danny likes bacon. And so we just need to be able to listen, where they've been, where they want to go. It just requires usually a question and then opening up our ears. You want to help them grow? Ask them how they want to grow. Again, we have so many opinions and ideas about people, but oftentimes the biggest motivation for people's growth is going to be inside of them. Listening is a powerful tool for changing lives. One of the books I was reading, and this is where it says, listening is a powerful tool for changing lives because the acceptance it communicates frees people to grapple with the message instead of getting hung up on their relationship with the messenger.
What book was that?
I'll have to figure it out for you later. It is, I'll tell you in a bit.
Sure.
Dang it, now I'm looking through stuff. I'll get it to you in a bit. But again, I don't know about you guys. I've been known as a fixer sometimes. I said this before. I'll come and fix your issue, but if for big parts of my life, I wasn't known as a listener. Do you guys have any extra thoughts on those any of those 3 points that we just talked about? How God listens, how listening values the other person, or how listening brings connection? And Joe, if you have anything, you can jump in here too.
Was the book the leadership coaching book?
I think it may have been. I know I used that one, and another one called Emotional Intelligence, and then another one called Difficult Conversations were 3 of the books I used.
I would say, I mean, the power of listening is that it just so values people. You know, it honors the individual. And when you really listen to when you're listening to when somebody listens to me, it fires something up because it also kind of says, well, I believe in you. And when somebody believes in you, man, it interjects faith, it injects confidence, knowing that there's somebody that really believes in you, and shown by the fact that they're putting aside what they want to say.
Yeah.
It's kind of a sacrificial thing to listen. And when somebody does that for you, it just adds tremendous value to your life, and it builds faith and confidence in what God is calling you to. So and it's really a lost value in our culture because everybody's on one of these. So it's I've been reading statistics just how much we use the phone, look at our phones. Even in business meetings, they say people are looking at their phones like every 3 minutes, even in high level business meetings. So we're totally distracted. And I think you see that in the rise in suicide, depression, anxiety. It's because we're so disconnected. Just a quick story. My brother, my oldest brother, worked on Wall Street, and he lived on Long Island. And for probably 35 years that he did that, he commuted on the train. And he told me that, and near the end, he still does it once in a while. When he was doing it, there'd be pockets of people that would play cards every day. They had different things that they would do with people that they met on the train, and they would talk. But he goes, nowadays literally nobody talks. Everybody's just staring at their phone. He said it's really a weird, to him it's very strange. In fact, he's like a minimalist. He still has a flip phone, but but it is interesting how people don't communicate anymore. So it's really, really it's needed and it's valuable to listen to people, to really listen. And people light up when you start to do that.
I agree. Pastor Bernard Evans has started or now joined the pastoral staff at my church. Probably the top guy on my Mount Rushmore of faith. And as I've been stepping more and more into leadership, now with getting credentialed, he is really, really good at this art of listening. A guy that's had decades upon decades more than I've even been alive of experience, for him to turn his ears on and still listen to what I'm saying, that to me is such a sign of humility. And I don't know, it fires me up. I agree with what you were saying, Joe. It fires me up, and it encourages me that if he's going to listen to me, it means that there are other people out there that are also point to listen to me. So listening for me is a faith builder.
It's good.
Danny, Millie, do you guys have any extra thoughts?
Kind of think that with all three of those points, it also just connects to, it opens the door to discipleship.
You bet.
Definitely.
Over the last, I would say 3 or 4 weeks, before we came to Abundant Life 2.5 years ago, we were established at another church for
Long time.
a long time. And some of those relationships, how when you move, relationships kind of like sever just slightly. But I found over the last 2, 3, even a month, just because I'm there to listen, it opens the door for other people to kind of reconnect and say, hey, and out of the blue, people you don't even expect
Yeah.
to reach out to you. I had this one lady, I don't really have a relationship with her before this, or I didn't have a relationship with her before this, but out of the blue, someone gave her my number and said, Millie, I need to talk to you. And we set up a dinner date, and we just really, I just listened and talked, and she talked, I listened, kind of a thing, but it opened the door for discipleship. It opened the door for a deeper relationship, for her to have a deeper relationship with God as well. So this whole listening thing does bring connection, does show people, hey, I think you're important.
100%.
And I want to show you that you're important. So yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. It reminds me of John Maxwell says leadership is influence.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the biggest way you can influence people is by caring and loving for them.
Absolutely.
And so I think people think of leadership as big, bombastic, whatever. Some of the best leaders in my life are just the ones that can listen, because I know they care for me. I know they love me. Cool. Well, that was a bunch of some of the whys. I want to get into some hows, just some practical stuff, because really the goal of this is not for you guys to take away, the however long we're going to take of information, every single one, and put every single one into practice. Really, I just want you picking up 1 or 2 things, saying, okay, tomorrow when I'm talking to somebody, what's one way I can listen better? What's one way that I can be more caring and towards the people around me? So the number 1 is a good body language. Again, this is super easy stuff and super simple stuff, but again, have one of the ways is good eye contact. Eye contact. People. One of the books I was reading says the eyes communicate more than any other part of the human anatomy, and that makes a lot of sense to me. It's like you could see so much in people's eyes, even when they're looking at you. You could see joy. The little ends of their eye just move up just a little bit when they smile. It's like, okay, that's a real smile. Or maybe there's tears in there, or maybe they've got something in their eye, and the eyes communicate so much. So that means good eye contact says, I care enough about you right now that I'm focused on you, and I'm not looking around to other people or down, or I'm focusing on you, and I care about what you're saying. Another one is be aware of your posture. I don't know. I'm just thinking of situations that the posture needs to connect with how the other person is feeling. If I'm just slouched on my couch and my wife comes in and tells me, some big crazy news like, I don't know, our car just blew up or something ridiculous. I don't know what it is. It's like if I'm just lounging on my couch and saying, oh man, that's terrible. It's like, what am I communicating? I'm communicating I don't actually care that much. If something like that came up, I would sit up on the couch or even stand up. And so just again, saying the posture as we're listening shows that we can care about them, or maybe we're defensive as we cross our arms. Maybe not do that. Let's open up our arms. Let's sit up and let's actually be paying attention to people. Another one is nod your head, right? Just something that says, hey, I'm listening. I hear you. Another one, this is not really body language, but I didn't know anywhere else to put it, is don't interrupt. I interrupt so much. It's crazy. I need to, that's definitely somewhere, an area that I need to get better in, not interrupting.
I work
What,
with.
what other? What
I don't
other?
want to interrupt you, but
Yeah, please.
no,
I was going to ask.
yeah.
Else have you
No,
thought?
no, 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 but it's funny because as you're saying that, I work with I have a, so I work for a retail bank, but I do corporate training. So I do a
Okay.
lot of things. I do in classroom technical training. I do sales training. I do web training like this. So like I'll have a bunch of executives from wherever their office, they beam into my office, and I'll teach skills. And so, but I have.
Now we're feeling really under pressure, Danny.
No, it's all good. So I have a supervisor. We've worked together for a long time, and we came up together, and so he's my boss, I guess, in title only, but really we collaborate on everything. But he has a terrible habit of, he goes, don't mean to cut you off, but and he does it all the time. I mean, I was with him today, and he did it like 3 different times. And so my response is to him, but you are. But you are. I'm like, dude, you are. So like that's a good thing though, just not to cut people off, because that's a killer. That is a killer. It kills momentum, and it just says, and I'm like, you're just waiting for your chance to talk. Not even waiting. You're just like, I want to talk now. Let's talk right now. I got to say something right now.
Chauncey's going to interrupt us now.
Yeah.
I feel like interruption also brings value back. It says that I'm valuing what you say enough to wait to speak my piece.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, because Dana, I was going to say, what your supervisor is saying is, what I have to say is more important than you.
Right.
Or not you as a person maybe, but, oh, no, I know what to say right here. You can step aside. I got this, whatever. And it's like, it totally undercuts your authority in the situation, doesn't it?
Right. And honestly, what it says is, and this is one of his personality things, and he and I have gone around about it too. He doesn't care what you have to say. He just wants to get his point across, and you might have some value, but he's not listening to that value because he really just needs to get his message, whatever it happens to be. He wants you to know it. He wants you to know it now. So that's one of those things that I tell him all the time, dude, you gotta stop it. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, but absolutely, yeah.
It reminds me of what's on the top of our page. Listening takes us from me-centered to other-centered, right?
Right.
Your supervisor is saying, no, it's about me.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's a good example. Thanks for sharing, Danny.
Yeah.
The next section is called, we're labeling it Clear Away the Clutter. There's a few types of clutter. One is in your head clutter. In your head clutter. Whether it's conversations in your head or whether it's planning for what's up, what's up next. Oh, well, I have a meeting coming up in 15 minutes, et cetera, et cetera. I'm thinking there, I'm not actually listening to that person. I'm still in the conversation in my head. But if I want to be a good listener, I need to bear down and I need to focus on what that person's saying. I need to be present, which is really hard, especially if we're really busy, because it means that maybe our next meeting, we need to take 2 minutes just to focus in, but we need to be present with the people around us. Because why? If we're not authentically listening, people can see through us. Right? And so whatever we have to do, whether that's changing our schedule or going in the elevator and taking a deep breath, or just whatever it is, we need to make sure that we're able to be present where we're at. The next one I think is really, and we've talked about it in some ways, is that if we're clearing out the clutter in our head, we're not forming responses while someone else is talking.
Is something wrong with that?
Huh.
Joe's like, I've got 5 questions. No, I mean, we all can remember this. If we're forming a response, we're not listening. We heard 3 or 4 keywords, and we went in our Rolodex of ideas or things and we're like, oh, here's it is. No matter what you say, even if you talk for another 30 minutes, here's my response. I'm good. And it's like, we're actually not listening. So we need to get the conversations in our head out and clutter, the clutter in our head gone, we need to stop forming responses. I think another thing, I was having a conversation within the last couple of weeks, and I think it's hard for us not to say something right away. Like, Danny, you're talking, right? And then if you say, you're talking, and then there's a dead stop and there's silence, it's like, oh, it's my turn to come in and help Danny or say something. I have no idea what to say. I feel stupid. I should have been thinking of something to say. That means I'm going to be forming responses while Danny's talking and not listening. But I think we just need to have the confidence to say, okay, if I truly want to help people and love people and care for people, I'm going to listen to them. That means even if I do have a response, or if I have a response or don't have a response, my response is going to be out of being able to understand them clearly. Or maybe I'm able to ask a better follow-up question because I was listening to actually what they're doing or what they're going through. So clear away the clutter in our head. No conversations in our head. Don't form a response. The next one is environmental clutter. I'm sure you guys have some of this. Look around you and maybe even point out things that are distracting you. Danny, you guys were joking about your kids. That can be an environmental distraction.
Yeah, that's why Millie walked away for 2 minutes.
Yeah, I thought so. Well,
I got a garbage truck outside right now. I got a garbage truck right outside right now, just like making noise, picking up trash right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
His shirt is bothering me because all I'm thinking about is a bacon and lettuce tomato sandwich. Tomato sandwich.
Clear the clutter, man.
I got some. I just bought some nice thick bacon from Wegmans in my refrigerator right now. So I'm not listening to a word you guys are saying. All I see is bacon on my plate right now.
Hey, that's a healthy enough sandwich. 9:30 is okay to eat that sandwich at night.
Oh, yeah.
So when you get home, we're good.
That'll kill me. That'd give me some pretty bad heartburn, that's for sure.
Chauncey, what about you?
What's that?
Were you raising your hand, or is this your thinking hand?
More of a keeping my hand busy.
Oh, okay. So what are some other distractions that you guys have in your environment sometimes that distracts you from listening?
My wife.
Oh my.
In the best way possible, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Oh my. So was she there? She's there? She heard that out loud? Did you know you said that out loud?
She laughed as you said that. I find it hard when we're in a ministry setting because my wife and I are together so much to actually, I don't want to say cut that off, but to be able to turn it off almost for a few minutes, to be able to focus on other people. I don't know.
So maybe just other people or other conversations are sometimes are distractions.
Because I'm putting so much value and stock into her, I find it hard to have anything left over to be able to give to other people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It's good.
Here's one. Right? Notifications.
That's huge.
Checking the time, doing other stuff. Our phones are huge distractions. I mean, Joe, you brought it up, checking your phone every 3 minutes. I don't do it every 3 minutes, but it might be close. So it's like just putting that upside, like even during this call, I put my phone upside down, farther, not out of reach. I can still reach it, but not right next to me. So I'm like, okay, that's not going to distract me anymore.
Yeah, I put my phone face down. If I want to focus, I found that even at church on Sunday mornings, I take the phone out of my pocket and I put it literally on the seat next to where I sit, so it's out of my pocket. Because sometimes I'll be running around, or shit, I'll be preaching and your phone's buzzing, and it causes you to stop. It gives you like because like in your brain's wired to like, oh, let me see what that is. Yeah. But I've got people looking at me. I'm preaching right now. I can't check. That would be rude. And even I'll say this is like even if you're and we all got iPads, and put your iPad on airplane mode.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you guys, I can get notifications on my iPad.
Yeah.
I'm in a meeting and I've got my calendar up, or maybe I've got my meeting notes, but I'm also getting inundated with like 10 other things that are popping up, an email from this person or this, and that takes me out of the conversation.
Excellent.
And then the one thing that gets me environmentally, and this happened to me on Sunday, because some of our leaders were away, and so we were kind of doing a bunch of different things. And so after service, everybody wanted to talk to me about, something. And I was trying to have good conversations. I was trying to be focused, but, I got a room full of people. I got people, chatting about this. I got people hovering around waiting for me. I got people who, I know I got that one sister who's like, she told me this morning she got a verse for me or something like that or whatever. And so it's like trying to stay focused and give each person their time is kind of it can be distracting, because you're like, well, I know I got this other person, this person's waiting, this person, and I hear someone talking about something that I need to, it's something
I hate that. I hate that.
I'm like, why are they talking? You just wish you had a box of rocks that you could just fling them at somebody and really knock them out until you can get over there.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's one of those things.
Good.
That I think that hurts me. And just to go back to another point, kind of the mental clutter. I think that if you're, I hate to say high functioning, but if you're a leader who's constantly on the go, who's always working on something, there are different types of leaders, and some of us we got our heads in 10 different places. We're doing different things. That's just the way we're wired. We're wired to go, 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 go. It can be really hard to focus in on one thing for a certain amount of time, because we're thinking about the 5 other things that we're doing at the same time. And that's, I don't want, it's not bad to be able to do multiple things. I think it's good. That's the way God wired us. That's the way, leaders function. But, being able to turn that off so that you can focus on the one thing or the one person or the one conversation, is super critical. And I know for me, it's hard, because I'm always thinking about, especially right now, this season just seems like so many things are going on, but like trying to just focus in on one thing. And that's the tough part.
You just reminded me, one of the hardest situations I ever have is when I'm listening for God.
Yeah.
It's like, that's probably the most extreme example. It can be in a conversation, but I'm sitting there, I'm just have my eyes closed, praying, and I'm just listening. And I have like my to-do list is popping in my head, all this conversation I need to blah, 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 blah. And it's just like getting all that stuff out and just saying, okay, God, what are you saying? Now that's obviously the more spiritual side, but it's when people are actually talking to us. I agree with you 100%. The worst is you hear 5 feet away a conversation, and it's like, no, no, actually what you're saying is wrong. That's gosh, oh my God, you're just screaming in your head.
Yeah.
No, it's like, okay, I need to focus in on this person. Some other ones is, you brought up notifications, whether it's a to-do list or a calendar. Those things are tough. Another one I've been thinking about too is a lot about just even technology. I had this situation happen with my wife. We talked about a year ago. Is even if we are talking and I put, say I wanted to write something down on my phone, get the van fixed, or get oil, or go pick this up, or etc. As soon as I got on my phone, because she couldn't see what I was doing, and she's not controlling. It's not like a controlling thing. It's just that everybody knows if I'm on my phone, I could be doing 100 million different things. I could be on Facebook. I could be checking my game. I could be texting a friend. I could be on my to-do list. I could be, checking about how the Yankees are losing. Baseball starting tomorrow. I'm excited.
Is it really?
We could be doing anything, but I found that if I just have a little pad of paper and write it down, it's down on my paper, and we're good. She actually knows. She sees. Again, it's not a controlling thing. It's saying, I'm still focusing on you. I'm just writing a note, and we'll be done. And as soon as that pen goes down, they know again, hey, we're here. We're ready to go. Now, I know some people, Joe, I'm actually thinking about you. you write notes all the time during your meeting, but you've already communicated, hey, if I write notes, I listen better. And so anytime I talk to Joe, he's taking notes, and I totally understand that. But he communicated that to me already. So I know his writing notes is his way of listening really well.
Why do you feel that you listen better when you write notes, Joe?
Well, it keeps me focused.
Sure.
Otherwise, my mind wanders. My mind wanders very easily, and also it helps me by taking notes. I also don't always remember things, so it helps me remember. But at meetings, I'll take notes. I try to calm down on it, but I take notes very almost to a fault. But that keeps me it actually keeps me engaged in the meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Danny, what do you have techniques? If because my mind works similar to that. Almost my mind sometimes I would say it's like a TV remote control at a remote on steroids out of control. Poof, 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 poof. So what do you do if you have, even if it's not out of control, if you have 8 things going on in your head? Do you have techniques to be able to clear all that out so you can concentrate on the one thing?
I think as you're talking, I think taking notes is important. Having a pen in hand, even sometimes not even writing something down. For some reason, having something in my hand allows me to focus better. And of course, the phone is not something I want to have in my hand, but having something in my hand, there's different, in theories of education, there are different types of learners. And so there are people who learn visually. There are people who learn, it's the same thing. I think there are different types of listeners. I think, understanding our strengths and understanding what drives us, and how we're able to focus. So for me, having a pen in hand, having a notebook, even sometimes just doodling, and strangely enough, I find, especially when I'm in a group of people, to listen well, sometimes I have to close my eyes.
Yeah.
And I sit there sometimes, and sometimes it might even look like I'm sleeping, but I just have my eyes closed, because what it does is it eliminates my, I'm visually, I see things and I want to respond. And so lets me close my eyes. Let me just listen to the actual message. And I can focus in on it. So that's one of the things. And then one of the other things too is time and place. I know there are better times of the day for me to have meetings, to listen.
Definitely.
And if something's going on, I've learned that it's better to say, you know what, I can't meet with you right now because you're not going to get my attention, and I don't want to damage our relationship because I'm not hearing you. So let's talk about this on another day when I'm not distracted, or I don't have other places. I don't got other things in my mind, because sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you might have things that are, mission critical that have to happen now. And so maybe you don't have that conversation today. Maybe you don't have that conversation right now. Maybe you say, hey, I want to talk about this, but I don't want to rush it. And I want you to have all my attention. Today's not the day. Let's set a time,
Excellent. Those are good. Really good.
And you're going to build so much relational capital too, Danny. I'm sure you do this. I'm saying from your example, when you actually go back and follow up with that person.
Right.
Now, if you don't follow up with that person, that hurts the relationship because you didn't follow through with your word. But if you do, they say, oh my gosh, he was listening. He does care. And then the next time that happens, it's going to be even easier a transition. Or you might even get people stop saying, is this a good time?
Yeah.
And it's like, because they know you care about them and you want to listen.
That's good.
The last one we have, the last point is have active listening skills, but don't be obnoxious. When I say that, I mean, again, authenticity can be sniffed out. If you finish every sentence or thing that they say with what you're trying to say, or you use one of the active listening, sentences, everybody's like, Yes, I saw this on Dr. Phil in 1995. I understand. What we're good.
So what I hear you saying is,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like you can only use that once in a conversation before somebody pulls the bull crap out. It's just like, okay, come on now. Well, one of the ways I found that can show that I'm listening is by asking great questions. Because in order for me to ask a good question, I need to be listening.
Exactly.
If it's a bad question, I'm not listening. And so instead of saying, hey, what you're trying to say is, I mean, that's a question, but that's what about if you say something like, again, going back to my grandfather, it seemed like that trip had a big impact on you. What are some of the ways that impacted you? It's like you just communicated to me is that, one, you care enough about me that you're going to ask that question. And two, you were actually listening, not just even to my words, you were seeing how you were seeing how I was leaning forward, how I was getting excited about the things I was talking about. And you're actually listening to me talk and not just, spoon feeding back the words I was saying. And so I would say one of the biggest ways that you can show that you're actively listening is to be curious and ask questions. And then there's other things, there's words, there's tones of voices, there's the speed, the volume of the voice, expression, body position, emotions, they tighten their hands, they fold their arms, all this stuff. Our bodies communicate and our eyes communicate and our words communicate. And so just making sure that we're listening and pay attention to those things. And those are some really good ways for people to know that we're listening and for us actually to become good listeners. Does anybody have any other questions or thoughts? I want to move on to a little practical section, but before we do that, does anybody have any thoughts or questions?
I would just say I'm not exactly sure you're going practical, but one of the things that helps me listen to people, I almost make a game out of things. Like I'll have things that I'm listening for, like there's certain patterns, something that the person is repeating or goes back to, or strong, I'm looking for strong emotion. So that keeps me in the game if I'm if they're giving me history. So like that when Josh is talking about his grandfather, that's I tuck that into like history. So I'm listening for that, and I'm filing that because that's an important piece of history. His granddad, connection points with them. So I have certain things like that I'm flagging, or I'm looking for red flags, things that don't make sense in the conversation. Somebody's saying something and it's not adding up or it doesn't fit in. So I have these things, and that keeps me in the game. And then sometimes I just make a game out of totally being curious the whole way through. I'm just going after this thing, 120%, to just learn about this person. And that helps me, having that intention keeps me in the game. Because otherwise my mind has a tendency to wander. And it really does help, because I remember pastoring sometime before I had some of these skills. Some people would bore me to tears, in a meeting, in a counseling even, just like, oh my goodness. I'd go home and say, Joanne, I almost fell asleep. Listening to this person. Because there was no context to it, So there's just some things that you might want to look at.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I just kind of wanted to finish up by, at the beginning, I said, we just want to walk away with one or two things that we can apply. And so let's just take 30 seconds for a minute and really say, okay, from the things that we talked about tonight, what's one or two things that we can apply tomorrow to be a better listener? Don't try and do 3 or 4 things, because it won't work. What's one or two things that we can apply tomorrow or this week to make us better listeners?
I'll give one that Danny reminded me of. I've just finished. I've been reading the book, The One Thing, and Danny reminded me of that. And I'm still trying to make my day where, just trying to focus on the one thing that makes all the difference in the particular day. And he just kind of brought me back to that because I want to try to, just ask God and my own mind on what's the most important thing today, because there's usually one thing that if you can get it, it makes everything else go better. And he helped me be reminded of that when I was listening to Danny.
I think that I think my biggest thing continues to be there was two things that I take away. One of them was really listening to people, not for what they, not so that I can communicate what I want them to do for me, but really, because I genuinely want to listen to them. I think that's that's kind of important because I can be very focused on the objective, and so I'll listen to you if it furthers the objective.
100%.
But if you don't, if you're not furthering the objective, then I'm gonna have a very hard time listening to you because you're not doing anything for me. And that's something that I was reminded of today. And I think that part of it, another thing that is hard for me sometimes is just decluttering the mind. There's a lot of things going on, but one of the things that even recently is like, okay, what can I do today? It's really it's just like Joseph, the one thing. What can I do today? There's a lot of things, but what can I do today? And sometimes that just means talking to one person, and that's it. And not driving myself crazy with 10 things.
Mm.
1, 2, maybe 3 things. Just be like done with it. What? Okay, and then celebrating that win. Like, all right, I'm done. And I think that it also, doing that helps to clear out some of the stuff that's in there that distracts us when we do sit down and talk to somebody. When a conversation does arise, when someone does catch us after service or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking about 10 things because my only focus was one thing today. So I've got some free space to talk to you, and
Awesome.
I can focus on what we're saying in this conversation.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it's a combo of going from the me-centered to other-centered. In my marriage, I tend to try to listen to my wife, not necessarily to fix her or help her. It's more so I'm listening only because I don't want to have this conversation again. And if I can fix the problem or we can get better at the said problem, then I don't have to try to come back to this. So I need to go from me-centered to other person-centered. And I really appreciated that you spoke on clearing clutter, because on the outside I have 50 million things going on, but on the inside I might have 150 million things, to where I'm having 6 conversations internally with myself about how does my face look? How does this look? Am I standing the right way? This, that, and the third. And because and it ties back into the me-centered thing. I'm so focused on everything that's going on in my head that I'm 10 minutes behind in the conversation, and I haven't really showed the other person that I truly care about them.
Yeah.
So I felt affirmed, though, that for me, I tend to be a pretty good natural communicator. So I think I do a good job of bringing value and building connection.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Millie, what about you? Is there anything?
Question.
The question's basically like, hey, what's 1 or 2 things that you can apply to your listening tomorrow or this week? Not trying to take away 10 things, just what's 1 or 2 things that we can practically walk away from?
I think there's 2 things that you mentioned already. that kind of hit home. One, listening builds good relationships.
Yeah.
I know for me, if you're not listening to me, it turns me off and I walk away. I'm like, I can see it in your body language. I can see it that you're not interested in what I'm saying. I don't have time for that. But two, you reminded us that, you know, as Christians, as followers of God, you know, we're to imitate him. And we tend to forget that, just like you said, God listened. There was many examples in the Bible where God listened.
Yeah.
And we tell people that all the time, you know, God's listening, just pray, just pray. But it didn't hit home until today. If I'm supposed to do as he does, I've got to be a good listener. Yeah, I think I got to do a better job at listening. I got to do a better job at my body language. Yeah, I tend to check out if it's a long conversation. You lose me quickly. So I have to
Ain't nobody
get
got time
better
for that.
at that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
You know, they do get a little bit of a break though, 'cause, you know, they're from New York, so they're kind of much more to the point to begin with. So, you know,
Yeah, we're going to need to take an intermission from the conversation.
it's like get to the point and let me get out of here.
Well, we have lots of people at our church that I think they like to hear themselves talk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I just can't. After a while, I'm like, okay, but you've said this like 5 times already to me. I don't need to hear it again. Or they forget, because a lot of them are older than I am. So they tend to forget that they've already talked to me about this like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. And I'm like, okay.
Joanne would, when we were pastoring for counseling, she'd give people 3 sessions, and only if you didn't listen to her, like if you didn't do what she said, you were done, you know, because she wasn't the type that was going to go on for 20 weeks, just hearing the same thing over and over again. Because that's how she got to that. She said, no way, you know. And also, we were doing it for free. Some, you know, counselors will get $80, $90. So if you're not going to listen to us, we're not going to do this over and over and over. So yeah, Millie, we're with you.
I think something that I remembered I want to put into practice is that just listening with my kids, especially my 6-year-old, he likes to talk and gets emotional sometimes. And most of the time it's me telling him to do something that's different than what he wants to do, or he wants to explain something 5 times more than I feel like is necessary. And I'm trying to say, okay, no, you need to do this. You need, you know, let's change direction. And I'm like, wait. Life is plenty long. If he goes to bed 5 minutes later than normal, is it going to really kill anybody? No. But how much can I love my son right now by just stopping for 30 seconds and listening what he's going to say. And then as soon as he's done, his eyes are usually right on me and ready to go. But I want to fix the situation or get the situation fixed so fast or changed that I don't listen as well as I should. And so I really, even preparing for this and talking with tonight, that's just something that really reminded me of, like, let's take the little step of the people closest to us, and that'll go move forward. You know, as we move on for life, that'll go from the closest people to us to the people around us too, around me. Well, it was great hanging out with you guys tonight. I really enjoyed. For you guys, just so you know, we were supposed to have some more people, but we have about 7 or 8 other people that want this recording. So say hi. Hello.
Bye.
I missed you guys tonight, but I feel like we had an amazing conversation. I love that we actually had a small group, because I felt like each of us got to connect and share what was on our mind. And I feel like we're all walking away with something. So for you guys that are watching this recording, and you guys live too, we don't want this just to be a one-time thing, because we're going to do more webinars about things like this. Like we might do another webinar about asking questions and how to ask good questions. We might do other ones on, how to run a good one-on-one meeting with somebody that you're leading, or relating with people, or leading others that are older than you. So we have a lot of these ideas of things that we want to communicate to you guys. You guys right here in the Zoom call with us, and then you guys recording. So 2 parts on that is, one is keep a lookout, and we're going to be sending information out about that in email and on social media. And 2, if you guys want us to cover something specific, let us know. We want to serve you guys, and we want to help you where you're at. If we're talking about stuff that's not applicable to your life, we're wasting our breath. And so we want to be able to help you guys where you're at. The last thing is that we don't want to just leave this call where we are right now. So whether you're on the recording, watching the recording, or you guys 3 here now, if you guys want to have follow-up conversations about listening, we'd love to connect with you. Me specifically, I'd love to connect with you and explore some of the ways that we can continue that conversation and that relationship moving forward. One of my roles with EF is really connecting with emerging leaders and walking with them through change and through development that they want to make in their life. And it's based a lot on what we're talking about tonight, is listening and asking questions and helping find the path that is right for you, and the Holy Spirit is speaking to you too. So we really want to be here to support you guys. Again, whether you're on your recording, you're overseas. I know some of you guys over in Asia are watching this, or whether you guys are right here in the States. We would really want to walk with you guys through life, through ministry, through relationships. And so any way we can help, we love to be a part of that and walking with you in the journey. Sound good?
Yep.
Excellent.
Well, it's great talking to you guys tonight. And again, everybody who sees the recording, you guys, Danny, Chauncey, and Millie, and Joe, thanks for being here, guys. We really appreciate it.
Great. Really good to be with you guys. Really good. Learned a lot from you. So good. Thanks.